encouraging him to write his memoirs. He was keen to read about the young Thomas Hardy. "Write something down about yourself," he urged, "and especially about that youthful figure whose photograph I've got, and of whom you told me that you could think with almost complete detachment." Florence aided and abetted. After her husband's death, she claimed that it was her strong request that persuaded him to agree to write his own life. She insisted that although her husband had not sufficient admiration for himself to write an autobiography, his hand was forced. Hardy had a fear of the person who comes here and goes away to write down things. The only solution was to write them down himself and to rely on Florence to be keeper of the flame. She could be trusted. Her own diary merely recorded incidents, no personalities. It was, she told a friend, a dull affair, no doubt. But when I remember the awful diary the first Mrs. T.H. kept, which he burned, full of venom, hatred, and abuse of him and his family, I am afraid to do more than chronicle facts. A month before Hardy received Cockerell's request, his beloved sister Mary had died. She had been almost my only companion in childhood, he confessed. The loss brought him intimations of his own mortality and a flood of memories. Perhaps Cockerell was right. The war made the future seem dark and uncertain. "It is a gloomy time," Hardy wrote, "in which the world, having like a spider climbed to a certain height, seems slipping back to where it was long ago." A time for him to slip back into his own past, to tell his own story in his own words. This, though, was not exactly how things would transpire. By 1917, the project, codename Materials, was underway. Secrecy was paramount. In a bizarre twist, Hardy decided to ghostwrite his own autobiography. And so one of the literary world's greatest deceptions was perpetrated. Hardy would write his memoirs for publication after his death, but they would be branded as an official biography by Florence, who was a respected author in her own right. I realise that on no account must we mention the word autobiography, or call them autobiographical, Florence explained. They would write in third-person narrative, a further stratagem of emotional distancing. If this all sounds confusing, that was the intention. A further complication occurred when Florence, aided by the author and creator of Peter Pan, J.M. Barrie, edited the manuscript after Hardy's death, omitting various details and adding extra anecdotes and personal information. Hardy wrote down his memories in longhand, closely referring to his journals, letters, reviews, press cuttings and notebooks, before passing the pages to Florence, who would type them and then hand back the typescript for corrections. Hardy's own emendations were written in a disguised calligraphic hand. He would also dictate stories which Florence would type and then return for corrections. Once satisfied, the manuscripts were then destroyed. In May 1919, Hardy wrote to his friend Sir George Douglas that he had been busy burning papers of the last 30 or 40 years. In a telling phrase, he explained, "They raise ghosts." So who were the ghosts? And why was Thomas Hardy so keen to present his own whitewashed version of the facts of his life and destroy almost every one of his private papers? Was it that fame and the tetchiness of old age had made him suspicious of the press and ultra-sensitive to gossip? The truth is, he had always been a man of mystery, a keeper of many secrets. More often than not, those secrets were connected to the women in his life. Now, the full extent of his evasions, his deliberate omissions and distortions, can be revealed for the first time, and they shed valuable light on his life and works. This book draws on Hardy's extensive correspondence, now complete in 8 volumes, the last of them containing 650 letters unknown to previous biographers, published in 2012, as well as memoirs, newspaper stories, and the novels themselves. New letters from Hardy's second wife Florence have recently been discovered. This book also benefits from access to some tantalizing annotations in Hardy's religious books. He was drawn to women, and especially to beautiful, inaccessible women. In order to write, he required a female muse. As a young boy, he was surrounded by strong, determined women, mainly of a lower social class.